Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do a handover video on your eldest Autoquest 160. So, under the bonnet, it's a 2007. Under the bonnet here, you've got your engine battery over here on the left hand side. Brake fluid, just to the right of that, attached to the servo down the back. Power steering fluid sits here at this reservoir at the front. You can see there, just in the perfect position there for that. Engine oil goes in through this cap just here at the top of the engine, and you can see there, nice and clean. Engine oil dipstick is this green topped one down here at the bottom. You can just about see your oil filter just down there. If you don't want to fill your engine oil up from there, or you can't get something to it, you have also got this one here, which again is literally just it's basically just another way of pouring engine oil into the engine. That's there. Engine coolant, you can see there as well, the engine's cold at the moment and the level is absolutely perfect, just below the maximum line, just there. And your washer fluid down here on the right. Air filter sits inside this box here, attached down here, so it sort of gets like an air intake from the front. Fuses and relays sit inside this box, and also there are some extra ones inside here sometimes as well. Diesel filling point is this one just here on the near side of the vehicle. To open that up, push on the left hand side here, and that'll open up the flap just there. Your door retainer is up there, so when you come to actually closing the door over, up there at the top is where you need to be. The step is manual, so put it away, literally lift up on it, and it'll fold in on itself. Same sort of thing, pulling it out just like that, nice and easy. I am going to go through and clean the van in just a minute, but I just thought I'd do the video first, just so I can show you everything. On the Autoquests, there is something I want to point out, which is this button just down here. And basically that's a 12-volt isolator for everything inside this vehicle. So if I turn that off now, anything that works via the 12 volts, all your lights, ignition, stuff like that, will all just turn itself off. So that's that there. If you want to get out the van and leave it for a couple of days or so, you know, however long, you can turn that off, and then by the time you get back to it, the battery won't have drained itself out for any reason. These two vents just here are for your fridge. So I've got the fridge lit up on gas at the moment, and I can just about feel a little bit of warm air coming out through the top of this vent here, because that's the exhaust for the fridge basically. Obviously you've got your bunk beds here. I just thought I'd show you it lifted up. I need to clean under here anyway, but you can lift it up like this. With the cushion off, you can also wedge it far enough over so that these little clips go into little holes. So if you want to, you can leave this up and use it as like a big storage area, but that's completely up to you how you want to use it. The wastewater drain for your van is this one here. So you do literally just turn this piece at the end so that it says open like it is now, and when you finish using it, turn it around again until it says closed, so just turn it 180 degrees. Back of the van is quite important on this one. So you've got your hookup point, which is just here, and the reason it all looks like this is because you can plug your hookup into the vehicle, put the cable down this gap here, and then completely close the locker with the hookup still plugged in, and that's sort of the idea of, you know, a lot of the Eldises have this style of sort of locker here. So hook up on the left, and then your leisure battery is over here on the right hand side, and I can tell you it's actually a really nice good sized leisure battery. I can't see exactly what the size of it is, but it's probably at least 110 amp hour. So that's that, it's all in there. And then you've got your gas locker. So you have got space in here for 2 of these 6 kilo propane bottles if you want them. The gas dropout is that part down there. So the reason why you can't fill these or you shouldn't fill these lockers up with stuff is because you could block that dropout hole. So gas is heavier than air. When it leaks, it goes down, and then that's the reason why you've got the dropout holes that need to be clear there. So if there was a gas leak inside this cupboard, the gas would drop out through there onto the ground and not cause any trouble. So that's that. Anti-clockwise around to the left turns the bottle on. Clockwise around to the right turns the bottle off. I'm going to leave it on for a minute just because I've got a few bits on in the van at the moment. And your regulator here, you haven't got to worry about any of that. All of this stuff just here is all just for our testing purposes. It does say all that just here, but basically leave this dial facing in line with the pipe, and then when you go to drive and anything like that, turn the gas bottle off from the bottle, and that's plenty. On the off side of the van now, you've got your toilet section. Basically the bit at the top here is your flush fluid. So this is your pre-mixed pink fluid that goes in here, and if I just show you how that closes, close the actual cupboard over, but it's not locked at the moment, it still opens up. Close it over and pop this key in, turn it whichever way it'll go, and take the key out. Now I can't open it. Same with the locker down here for the toilet. I will obviously show you how this works as well, but key in, turn it, take it out. Now I can't push that button in, so I can't open the toilet up. The top button always goes in and out, but it's just when the bottom one's unlocked that you can open it. Toilet cassette itself, yellow button at the bottom, and then you can pull it out. You then got, all you have to do really is empty out from the little yellow button at the back and empty it out from here. So I've said that the wrong way around, didn't I? Empty it out from here, and once you're doing that, you need to hold down the little yellow tab at the back. This little flap here, you need to try to remember keep on top of lubricating it. If you don't lubricate it, you'll find that it basically won't open up very well. Silicone lubricant to lubricate that, and then you'll be good to go with any of that sort of thing. Freshwater inlet is this one up here, and you can see at the moment it's locked, so I'm pushing in and turning but nothing's happening. So if I just show you what happens when you unlock it, circular key to match the style of lock, so one of these ones. So that's the wrong one. Turn it and take it out, push in. Oh, there you go. There you go. So in and around to the right until it stops, and then key back in. That's it. So that's how you use your freshwater inlet. You've got an external 12-volt point here and an external TV aerial point here if you should ever need either of those. And this vent just here is for your boiler. I've got the boiler lit up on gas at the moment, so I can show you how that works when we jump inside in a minute. The cab itself, and again, don't worry because I haven't cleaned it yet. The cab itself is really nice and straightforward. I know that you've seen the cab already and actually driven it too, but it's 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse, you need to lift up on the little tab here to get it to go up and over into there. I remember you saying something about third gear, but to be honest, after driven it and had the service and all that sort of stuff, they are just a little bit sort of I don't really know how to describe it. I think the ratio in the gearbox itself, or the selector, is quite narrow, so that's why it feels a little bit awkward to find it. But to be honest, you will get used to it pretty quickly. When I drove it this morning, it drives like all the rest of them, to be honest with you. So see how you go with it. But yeah, so lights are on this left hand stalk just here, and obviously indicators as well. Electric adjusting mirrors, so that's your top and bottom mirrors, so top right, bottom right, and so on. Once you've chosen which one you want to move, just move this around like a joystick. Hazard lights and all of your fan controllers just there. 12-volt point just there, and obviously your ashtray bit if you want to use that. All of your stereo system up here is all the original Peugeot stuff, and you have got this little clipboard bit if you want to use that. If so, I don't know if you will or not, but that's there. Other than that, you've got another 12-volt point down here. Your bonnet release is this one just here, and your steering wheel adjustment is there, so you can then move this up and down wherever you want to move it to. So I think that's about it really for the cab. If I just jump in the back. Okay, so I'm going to start here at your control panel because that's where I tend to start. So it does look small, but really that's all of the Eldises really, or this age of Eldis, tend to have these control panels. So it's nice and simple. All all you need to remember really is if you want to use the van and you want all of your lights and everything that powers by 12 volt to be run from the leisure battery, which obviously you do, because if you use it off your engine battery, you're going to drain it out and then you won't be able to start it. If you want to use any power in the back end of the vehicle, push up on this right hand one here to aux, and aux is auxiliary battery, so that's your leisure battery. If I go to the middle and then down to vehicle battery, anything, lights or anything at all, will then be being drawn from your engine battery, which obviously you don't want to do for the reasons I just said. Anytime that you got this on either aux or vehicle, it will tell you all the time what the voltage is. So at the moment you can see there it's about 12.5 volts, and that's absolutely perfect for a resting battery rate. And in fact it's not even resting because I've got all the lights on, so it's a really good battery voltage in there. If I put the pump on, or actually the pump is on, but if I pull the tap and then the pump started running, the voltage would go down to sort of nearer to 11 or so, but then it jumps back up again. So that's how you know you've got a really good leisure battery. If it jumps back up again once you've turned something off, then you know it's all good. So anytime that you got this on here, it's telling you the voltage, which is the ones that you want to look at the top. So that's 9 all the way through to 16. It shouldn't ever go above 15, ever. Okay, so if it does go above 15, either take the hookup out or give somebody a ring, because it definitely shouldn't be doing that. So if you put a hookup into the vehicle, it'd be around 14 and a half. If you want to check your fresh water level, push and hold on this middle one here which says water, and then you look at the bottom scale, so it's just over empty, so probably about 1/8 of a tank. So you're probably looking the tanks would tend to be about between 70 and 100 litres. So if you imagine if you were about there, you're probably looking at about 10 litres of water or so. Okay, so push and hold on that one to see your fresh water level, and then you've got this one on the left hand side here. If I push this up now, it doesn't change anything, doesn't do anything. All it does is just stop the power being sent to your pump. So if I pulled any of the taps now, basically nothing would happen. Turning it on like that allows the water to come through the pump and the pump to work. So, and the reason why I just thought I'd mention that to you, it might sound a bit silly me showing you that, but you've got a submersible pump. So submersible pumps work via 12 volt power. So in every single tap around the vehicle, that one, your shower, your toilet, everything has a micro switch in it. So unlike a lot of other motorhomes where it runs via pressure, and then the pump runs itself off when you turn all the taps off when it gets back up to pressure again, these ones literally pull the tap, you hear a little click, and then the moment when I turn it off you hear another click. That is the micro switch inside the tap. So basically, even if there was a leak somewhere, which obviously there's not because we've just done a full habitation check, but if there was at some point, the pump wouldn't run on and run on and run on all the time, because it only comes on when you pull the tap. Or in other words, you don't sort of overload it with pressure. There's not too much pressure at any of the places at all. This little bit of board here which goes over here can be put inside here. But yeah, so what you want to do, if you want to use your boiler like I'm doing at the moment, turn your pump on, come to your sink, and then just pour the hot water through. So I can see right now the water's coming through nice and clearly, and there's no air being coughed out anywhere. There's nothing nasty happening at all. So if I poured the hot water through with the pump on and no water came through, but I could hear the pump running, that normally means that the boiler isn't quite full, but it is being filled up. If after 2 or 3 minutes of doing that, still nothing comes out of the tap, I would imagine you haven't got enough water in the tank, sorry. So before you do anything with the boiler, you need to do that to prove to yourself that the boiler is definitely full. So the boiler sits down here, and I don't know if you can see it on the video. There, you can just about see it there. Look, you've got a little yellow tab. Now, if the yellow tab was facing the way it is now, which is like flat, then the boiler is going to accept any water that you send to it. If you lift the tab up there, basically all the water from inside the boiler will just drain out onto the floor. So the reason you would do that is if you knew that you weren't going to be using the van in a really cold temperature, and the boiler was full up, the last thing that you want to happen is for the water inside the boiler or around the boiler to freeze, because when the water freezes, it'll expand, and any pipes and bits and pieces inside the boiler or outside the boiler will crack because the water's expanded inside of it. So you need to make sure that you drain the boiler out anytime that you're going to be leaving the van over a really, really cold temperature. All right, and that's just by lifting up that little yellow tap. So, assuming you've checked that the boiler's full of water, you can then come over here. So this up here is how you use your boiler on gas, and this here is how you use your boiler on electric. So I'll turn the boiler off quickly. If you want to light it up on gas, all you need to make sure is two things, or three things actually. Make sure that you've done what I just showed you there at the sink. Make sure the boiler's full of water. Make sure your gas is switched on, and make sure there's no cover over the vent on the outside, which I showed, which there isn't at the moment, okay? So check those things, and then all you have to do, turn it around like that, and then choose your temperature between 30 and 70. I'll put it up to 55 for the moment. And then after about half an hour or 40 minutes or so, you'll have hot water at any of the taps. So that's how you use it on gas. If you have an electric hookup plugged into the vehicle, you can quite literally just press this button here, and then after, again, about half an hour or so, you'll have hot water from the taps. It really is as simple as that. If you're in desperate need for hot water and you have a hookup lead and gas, you can use them both at the same time. But if I was you, I wouldn't bother, because the gas, well, they both work really quickly anyway. So yeah, but that's that. So turning it off like that, and that's it. But like I said, this one will only work when your electric hookup's plugged in. There's no light on it to tell you that it's actually working or anything either, by the way, just so that you know that. But as part of the habitation check, we've got an amp clamp. So when we plug it on mains, we put a clamp around it, and it tells us exactly how many amps are being drawn at any time. So we can prove that all of those things are working. So it is working, but there's just no light to show you that it is, basically. Just thought I'd point that out. Cupboard back here is really important. So there's a couple of things. You've got this box at the back here, which is your 240 volt trip switches, basically. So if you had a mains cable plugged in, all of these would be live. And if you plugged the mains in and nothing was working, I would first off come in here and make sure that these are all in the upright position. It does tell you underneath exactly what each of these do. So these two are MCBs, so these do individual appliances, and this is your RCD, which does the main, it's the main trip switch. So they've all been checked again. They all work as part of the habitation check. We have to make sure that's all good. And the only other thing I want to show you in here is you've got your freshwater drain, is this just here. So if I turned this 180 degrees, the fresh water would go down this pipe and out down onto the floor. All right. We've also got a gas isolator, and that is for this propane heater. And so if you wanted to isolate the gas from this for any reason, you can do that from there. Pop this bit back down here. So that's all nice and out of the way. The gas heater is about as simple as they get, if I'm honest with you. So you can't really go too far wrong with it. You've got this on the left hand side, which is a Piezo Ignitor. So Piezo means you basically create the spark yourself by pressing the button down, which is why it's so simple. A lot of them have got electronic ignition, and they also tend to be one of the first things to go wrong. So all you have to do to light this up, turn it around to sort of 2 or 3, and I can't really do it with one hand so easily, but all you have to do is push down on 2 or 3 whilst pressing this Piezo Ignitor in, and if you watch down there, you'll see that the flame will be on. Whilst you're still holding it down and it's lit, hold it down for about 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so, let it warm up a little bit, and then lift it out and turn it around to sort of 7 or 8. So what that'll do is you'll hear it, when it happens, you'll hear it. It'll basically initiate the main flame. It's like an old school boiler, well, it's like any boiler really, but I know like on the older boilers, you used to be able to see it, didn't you? The pilot flame and then turn it on to the main flame. It's exactly the same kind of thing with this, where you light it up on 2 or 3, holding it down, turn it around and let it go at sort of 7 or 8. It may or may not take a few goes for it to actually stay on. And And that's just because that's the way they are. They're all the same. I haven't even tried this one myself because I didn't do the hab check, but I would just imagine they're all the same really. If it doesn't work on the first couple of tries, it's not that it's broken. It's just because that's the way they are, unfortunately. So you might need to try it 5 or 6 times to allow it to warm up properly in order to actually stay on. But you know, once you've got the hang of it, it's so easy. But there you go. That's how the heater works. Bathroom at the back. Your switch for the lights is here. The shower and sink are on this one same tap. So you pull this out and then put it in up there, and then obviously put the cable away, not make a mess of it. Nice and simple how it works, just like that. Hot and cold. Just needs tightening up a little bit. So that's the shower and the toilet. Your flush fluid pumps around like this, and then once you've got whatever you need to do in there, you've got your flap down here, so you open that up and that drains into the cassette, and then close it back over. If you don't close that back over, what will happen is basically well, two things. Obviously, if you leave it open, you get all those bad smells coming back into the vehicle, which you don't want. But also, if you don't close it, you won't be able to take it back out again from outside because it locks itself in place. So it's really important that you make sure you leave that closed whenever you're not using it. Right. Couple of bits and pieces back here. You've got another point here. So you've got the another 12-volt point, aerial point, and 240-volt socket there. So in order, basically what they're saying is, if you want to put a TV somewhere, ideally you'd put it here. So if you want to put it there, you can do. All the bits and pieces are there for it. But also, you can also put a TV up here as well, because you've got all the same pieces up here just above the door. So it depends where you're going to want it. I suppose you could put a bracket here and then have the telly there. I don't know, but wherever you want one. If you're going to have one, then that's the two sort of points for it. The fridge and the cooker are the last appliances that I need to show you. So the fridge is nice and simple. All you've got, all the fridges are the same basically, apart from the small 12-volt ones. They work 3 different ways. So at the moment, I've got it down here at the very bottom, and you can see there that corresponds to this symbol here, which is gas. If I turned it to this one here, I'd look at that, and that's a battery, so that's 12-volt. And if I went to the top one here, that's got a cable on it, and so that's mains. So back up to the top turns it off. If I had a mains cable plugged into the vehicle, I personally would go to there, to the mains, because in my opinion it's just the most simple. If you've got a mains cable plugged into the vehicle anyway, you may as well turn it around to that, because there's already a main, the power's already there, so you might as well use it on that. If you don't have a mains cable plugged in, you'd have to go down to the bottom to the gas, and then to light it up, you've got a little hole down there, and all you have to do is keep your eye on the hole there, push in on this one here, and again you've got a piezo igniter, so push in on that and press the piezo. I don't know if that's lit or not, I can't really see it. Well, I can't see it from here, but basically that's how you light it up. I mean, I've had it on for the last however long anyway, so I know that it works perfectly well. But down to the gas, push in on this and push in on your piezo igniter, however many times it takes to get that flame to show up in that hole there. When you actually get down on your knees and look at it, it is easy. I literally lit it up about half an hour ago before the video, so it's easy peasy to do it when you're actually down on the floor and do it yourself. But that's that. Freezer box up here, freezer box up there, and I will just put this little bit back on quickly because I just popped it off being too heavy-handed. So this is just your lock bit for that. I don't know if I can see properly. Oh, what am I doing? Wrong way around. Right, I'll sort that out properly in a minute. Right, so that's the fridge. basically, the way that I would explain it, if you were going to go away on holiday tomorrow morning, I would advise you the best way to do it really would be to either light it up on gas or turn it on the mains the night before you go away. And the reason I say that is because from sort of warm, these fridges can take about 3, 4, 5 hours to actually get completely cold. It's the same as if you got a new fridge at home and plugged it in for the first time. It would take hours to actually get cold because they are quite big units. So night before you go away, pop it on either gas or mains, and then when you get to the morning, everything will be cold inside the fridge and the fridge will be cold itself. And then all you have to do before you actually start the engine up and start driving is just go down to the battery symbol one. And then when you start the engine up, what happens is you've got power. When you start the engine up, you've got a split relay. So the alternator essentially charges up the engine battery like any car does or any van. But with a motorhome or a proper branded motorhome, you've got a split relay. So the power gets split between the alternator and the engine battery and the leisure battery. So any time that you're driving, the leisure battery and the engine battery are both being charged up. On that same sort of circuit, you've got the 12 volt for the fridge. So when your engine's running, if you have it down here on the leisure battery one, the fridge keeps cool whilst you're driving. The fridge doesn't get cold on its own via that, which is why I'm saying that you need to get it cold first before you switch over and start driving. So that's why I would always say if you're going to go away one morning, pop the fridge on the night before, and then that way you can definitely know that it's going to be cold for when you leave. But that's that. That's the fridge. I will sort that out in just a minute because I broke that myself. The cooker is nice and simple again. You will need an igniter of some description to light any of these up because there isn't an ignition button on any of it. So all you have to do is look at the diagram to tell you exactly which one you're going to use. Oven and grill. Grill door needs to be open anytime that you use it, obviously, just like a household one. The oven obviously doesn't, but you will find that when you first light the oven up, you'll struggle to light it up if you don't have the door open because there's no oxygen to because that's what flames need to work. So basically light the oven up with the door open. Obviously you would need to do that anyway because you need to have your hand in there for a lighter, but so it's sort of irrelevant on this one. But yeah, once you've got it lit, you can close this up and leave it however you like. You have got a thermocouple on every one of the burners and the grill and the oven, and in fact every gas appliance in this entire van has got one of those. And what a thermocouple does is it senses burning gas, basically. So essentially the reason you have them is if I lit any one of these up on the top and the wind blew one of them out, you would expect obviously the gas to just keep on pumping out even though it's not lit anymore. But what a thermocouple does is it recognises that that flame isn't there anymore, but the gas is still coming through, and it turns the gas off. It isolates it. So when you turn any of these burners off after using them, if you hear a loud click after about 30 seconds or so, that's the thermocouple recognising that the flame's not lit anymore and it's stopping the gas. Essentially, that's what that is. But you've all got that. Every motorhome has that, so that's another thing that has to be checked as part of the habitation check, so that's all good. You haven't got to worry about any of that. Other than that, I'm not sure what else there is to show you. And like I said, I am going to get on in a minute and start cleaning this, right through, so that it's ready for you to collect today. But if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want covering again, just let us know. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.